Hi, Misha here, and Black Box video. And what I'm doing inside, because this week, weather has been insane. And when I say insane, I don't mean like, oh, a little bit. This is Arkansas, so insanity is normal. Even for Arkansas, it's been crazy. This past weekend, we were out shooting on Saturday. Great weather. Highs in the upper 60s, very low 70s. Excellent. Then Monday, it jumps up to 80. And then Tuesday, like 84. In mid-late October. Fuck you. I want my fall back. Either way. This morning, about 6 a.m., wife wakes me up saying, turn the air conditioner on because it was kind of stuffy. Okay, cool. Get up, do that. By noon, it's like 40 degrees out. And tonight, it's going to be in the 30s. Yay! So I've been kind of sneezing all day. Yay. So if I do it in this video, I apologize. Also, because of all this goofiness, I'm inside because I don't want to be outside. It's all gray and damp and like 39 degrees. And it was like 79 this time yesterday. So, as the title intimates, the new, or rather not so new, but still kind of new, something we have seen before, yet have never seen before, Arsenal SAM5-61 rifle. And doing this video on the personal channel because received a ton of emails over the last 24 hours since this thing dropped. Now for the main channel, yes, we will be doing a shooting video. Probably coming out in mid-November. Depends when we get to the range next. These rifles have not actually arrived anywhere yet. In fact, I'm not even sure if they've started shipping them. They just released them on the K-Var website yesterday, Thursday. So I don't even know if any have started to ship to dealers yet. If they have not landed. So, what do we have here? What's going on? Is this cool? Yeah. Is it earth-shattering? No. Is it neat that they release these with literally zero fanfare? Yes, it is. I'm tired of all the hype when stuff doesn't come out, yada yada. So the fact that they're just like bada boom, bada bang, here it is, with very little forewarning is great. And I have definitely been looking for a SAM5 for a while because it is a big piece of nostalgia for me. My first Arsenal rifle that I ever bought, I had bought parts from K-Var for years before, but the first rifle I ever bought from them, which I pre-ordered at the end of 2004, right as the federal assault weapons ban, which lasted from 94 till 2004. Look it up. It was part of the crime bill, yada yada. When that sunset and guns could have good features again, like threaded barrels, muzzle brakes, bayonet lugs, folding stocks, I decided, hey, it's time to get another AK. And at that time, I had handled a few Arsenals in a couple of gun stores for a couple of years, and they were standouts for that time because of having milled receivers. They were pretty much the only imports dealing with milled receivers. And by imports, I don't mean what you probably think. What Arsenal started off doing was bringing over the SLR 101, which was an imported compliant gun. Our older guns like the SLR 95, while they were made in Bulgaria by Arsenal, they were imported by other companies like Dominion Investment Group, DIG. When Arsenal Incorporated, Las Vegas, started getting up and going, the 98 ruling had changed the way guns were brought in, meaning low cap magwells, yada yada yada. So the very first guns were the 101s, but then they started assembling guns here. Thus came the SA-M- series, typically M-7, but they had the M-5, the difference being M7 7.62x39, M5 5.56 223, etc. These were brought over as parts kits, brand new, not used parts, but, brand new production parts, including barrels. And they would bring over receiver forgings, ingots, blocks, basically, that Arsenal would have finished out here in the USA. This is why the SA-M guns will not say Bulgaria on them. They'll just say Arsenal Incorporated, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, my thought was, I wanted to get a gun. A cat just literally jumped over the camera. Kind of wish I had the lens open right now, because that could have been interesting. Anyway, in late 04, I had a couple of 7.62x39s and one or two 5.45s. I thought it would be nice, kind of interesting, to have a 5.56 gun. And I wanted one that was band-free. So I ordered an SAM5-R, which was their band-free gun with a rail milled receiver. It came in early 2005. Got it. Great gun. Again, assembled here, but pretty much all the parts Bulgarian. Had that gun for a long time. A lot of my friends really liked it. It was a popular shooter. Ran a lot of rounds through it, all things considered. Eventually sold it in 2010 because one thing, I was able to basically double my money going from new to used at that. For another thing, I was still starting Ozark Bear Arms, the business, and an extra few bucks was always welcome this early on. So I sold it, no big deal. But I've always been kind of looking to replace one. But over the last decade, SAM-5s, the U.S. assembled, milled 5.56 guns, have kind of gotten crazy, stupid pricing on Gunbroker. They were, $1,300, $1,400, then $1,800, $1,900, now over $2,000. I wasn't going to pay that for a used gun. Yes, usually they'd come with extra mags and such, but I don't need that. I've got those. So I just, people would send them to me, and all the time people just wanted too much money. And anyway, I was kind of hoping they would do an import. They started bringing imported guns back in with the SLR 101S that they brought back. And then that evolved into the SAM-7R in 2013, 2012, whenever it was. And then they brought the SAM-7SF in 2013, and then finally brought in another batch this year in 2020. They also have done the SAM-7K pistol and SAM-7UF underfolder. So they're back to bringing in full import guns with the minimum number of U.S. parts for compliance. And the nice thing about a mill gun for compliance, you only really need 5 parts. So that's pretty easy to do. In the interim, they did switch over to importing stamped guns. And they did them in 5.45 originally, the SLR 105 briefly. Then they would revisit 5.45 in 2012-2013 with the SLR 104UR and then SLR 104FR. But the mainstays were the SLR 107 and the SLR 106, introduced around 2006. Well, the 107 was a stamped 7.60x39 gun, and the 106 was a stamped 5.56 gun. Okay, so why do I mention these here and now? The 107s have sold well, be it the FR, the CR, the UR, even the R. But the 106 stamped guns sold for shit. Now, there were a few early teething problems to do with feeding, but the reality is, 10 to 15 years ago, 5.56 AKs just were not selling. They did the 106FR, the 106F, the 106UR, which was a crink. They did that in both a rifle and a pistol. And then they did the 106CR, which is the intermediate AK-102 style, which I have and have shown in a few videos. They also would do the SA-RPK-5, which was a milled RPK style gun, LMG style gun, in 5.56. And they've done those up until very recently, the last couple of years, although they were still using old stock barrels and receivers. The receivers are dated like 2008. Did I mention that the 5.56 guns were just not good sellers? And the same thing goes for the SAM5 back in 2004-2005. They're rare today because they didn't make many, and they didn't make many because they weren't selling many. So it's not really a surprise that when they started doing the mill guns again, they stuck with 7.62x39. So in 2020, the SAM5-61 just came out. And it will be very interesting to see how this does. Released on, what was it, October 22nd, something like that. This is the first imported 5.56 mil gun they've attempted. Aside from the caliber difference, it's the same as an SAM7R-61. Milled receiver, 16 and a quarter inch barrel, chrome line, cold hammer forged, 14mm threads, standard bayonet lug, 90-degree gas block, synthetic furniture, scope rail, so on and so forth. Right now, these are only being sold through K-Var. No one else. Not even MSR, which is Arsenal's wholesale division for dealers. So these are not being sold directly to dealers. In fact, they're not even being sold to just anyone who goes onto the K-Var website. At least that's what they say right now. They say they're being sold to people who have previous order histories with K-Var. And on top of that, it seems like they're doing a limit of 2 per individual buyer customer. So the retail price, they have an MSRP listed at $1599.95 with a current retail price of $1499.95. There is no dealer pricing at this time because they're not doing direct dealer sales. So if you want one, you have to go to the K-Var website, or I would presume K-Var has them up on Gunbroker as well because they've been selling quite a few. They're saying this is a limited production, limited run thing, that they only had a few come in. I don't know this. You know, we've had videos here and on the main channel talking about Arsenal. But it doesn't surprise me if this is a small batch, because I think they're dipping their toe into the water. They were burned pretty heavily with the slow sales of the SLR-106. I think here they are wanting to see the public's reaction. Over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of stated interest in 5.56 caliber AKs on various forums, myself included, saying, hey, if they did a milled import 5.56, I'd buy one. A lot of people have said that too. But the thing is, people say they'll buy stuff all the damn time. 300 Blackout's an excellent example. Everyone and their dog says that they'll buy a 300 Blackout, but then when push comes to shove, a lot of times they didn't. So I don't think Arsenal's making a poor decision to just sell these and only bring in a small batch. How many is small? I honestly don't know. Arsenal never really states. But if you tell me they brought over 200, 250, I wouldn't be shocked. If they sell well, and if Bulgaria is amenable, I don't see why they wouldn't introduce them as a standard product. And this is a good time to release these 5.56 because another issue that's happened with this caliber in AKs are the magazines. In the past, it's been a little difficult to get the 5.56 223 magazines. And if you want this gun to run at its best reliability, you really need to get the Arsenal Waffle Circle 10 mag, which is what it's built for. And this mag is based off the Russian AK-102, AK-101 style mag, but it is the Arsenal kind of waffle pattern. They do them in 30 rounds, black and smoke, and they do them in 20 rounds. And all the 20s I've seen have been the smoke, but they might have some black ones too. The mags are good, especially the 30-round blacks. Those seem to be the most bulletproof. Early on, the smoke mags had some spider web cracking issues, but they resolved that a long time ago. And to their credit, they offered free replacements if anyone had cracked mags. You just sent your mag in and they'd send you a new one because they were getting the chemical mix right. I've also found that Polish Beryl mags made by FB-Radom work fine in the Arsenal guns. And there might be some others besides, like some Russian Vepr Molot 223 mags, because they're that pattern. But other mags I'm not sure of, like, say, East German Uyghur, or Romanian copies of the Uyghur, or the Yugoslavian, Serbian pattern for the M85, M85, M90, M95, M21. I don't know. A lot of times you can modify those mags to fit, as in lock in, but will the feeding be reliable? I don't know. Fuck if I know. Like I said, just buy the Arsenal mags. They're more available right now than they have been in the past. They are not cheap, but they work and they last, so just nut up and buy yourself 3 or 4, and you'll be good to go. Because when I had my old gun, I owned it from early 2005 to late 2010, so over 5 years, and the mags held up fine. I had no issues. On top of that, I've had the SLR 106 CR since pretty much those came out. I bought mine in 2007, and so I've been running those mags on and off for a long time, a total of 15 years, and they hold up fine. I also have my SA RPK5, which, all sincerity, I had no intention of keeping. I got one for the Mishaco channel just so we had an interesting video a couple of years ago, and the darn thing was so fun to shoot and just so appealing, I just couldn't bring myself to sell it. You know, it is what it is. So, I talked about putting your money where your mouth is. I'm a dealer. I'm used to paying dealer prices, you know, getting a little bit of a discount. I didn't do that with the SAM5. I paid full retail price because I wanted to get one. If they come in larger numbers later and the dealer price becomes available, oh well, I only paid full price on one. Not a big deal. And if they don't, if sales are slow, if the election goes sideways in a couple of weeks, or if just future imports don't come in, at least I have one. And to me, paying an extra $100, $150 is worth that small comfort, small amount of insurance. Because I don't know. The future is uncertain, especially with imports. And even if more come in, it might not be until next year. I don't know. Things have been so slow this year. And this has been something that a lot of us have mentioned Arsenal should do. And they're doing it, so yeah. As far as quality, I expect it to be typical. Like the SAM7R. Some people will complain about the paint finish, which, by the way, it's paint over phosphate, so if the paint wears away, there's still a finish under it. It shouldn't be bare metal. And there might be some machining marks or things like that you expect from a mass-produced Kalashnikov. But by and large, these guns have high-quality barrels, high-quality receivers, and while they may not be the absolute smoothest right out of the box, most of the time after you shoot them a few hundred rounds, they become very well broken in and just joys to shoot. Now, to be fair, the older SA-M5s, along with the SA RPK-5s, will probably be cosmetically nicer. They had a more glossy finish, and they are put together more or less by hand in the USA in small batches, whereas the SAM5-61s, the imports, as well as the SAM7Rs and SAM7SFs imports, are mass-produced guns brought over from Bulgaria. That doesn't bug me, but just, full disclosure. But the price, we have to keep in mind, too. Like I said, the older guns were going for upwards of $2,000 for a used SAM-5. And that's not just a one-off thing on Gunbroker. That's been pretty consistent for the last 2-3 years. So when a new production import comes available for $1,500 retail, I mean, would I prefer it to be $1,200? Sure. But I think they probably could have marked it a little higher and still gotten it. Like, they're getting $1,800 out of the SAM7 SFs that are out right now. And historically, the SLR and SAM7R were pretty well priced, like the SAM7 SF. Again, I think they're just sampling the waters, seeing if there's really a market. So I put my money where my mouth is. I nutted up and just paid full retail. And for just me, for one gun, I'm happy to do it. I expect maybe a little bit of cosmetic roughness and just a typical kind of matte black spray-on finish. That's fine. But on the other hand, I do expect 100% reliability and the ability to digest all types of ammo, steel, brass, what have you. And I expect that the black waffle mags will run 100%. And honestly, I expect the modern smoke mags to be just fine too. And there have been a few issues, reported with the newer SLR107Rs and some of the SLR106s. But I think a lot of those issues had to do with the translation into being a stamped receiver, since the mill guns are what Arsenal is shipping to military users and police users. I don't expect to see those kinds of trunnion type issues with these, but we will see. Long story short, I'm excited to get it. Is it earth-shatteringly new? No. It is kind of something we've seen before, but never as an import. For me personally, it's nostalgic. It's kind of like going back home, because the SAM-5 was a very early Kalashnikov for me. It was probably the 5th or 6th one I ever bought. So I'm just excited to have that. And since I already have the RPK-5 and the SLR106CR, it'll fit nicely. I'll have a long LMG. I'll have the SAM-5 as a full-length rifle, and I'll have the 106CR is a 12-inch barreled gun with folding stock. So I think they'll kind of all complement each other well. They all use the same magazines. Anytime there's an import, I'm always tickled. I really like imports. There's nothing against the U.S. guns, but there's something about imports that I really like, and they're always a more finite supply. A little more exclusivity there. You know what I mean? But we will do a full, probably range review, certainly table talk review of them when they come in. Should have mine by late next week, this time next week, maybe the week after, just depending how UPS is going to go about things. It's been pretty strange lately with the way shipping's been going. But we will definitely cover it. I mean, I'll say this, the people at MSR, the sales reps over there, are definitely getting cut out of the loop because they work on commission, consignment, whatever. As dealers, we're also being cut out of the loop. So from a business standpoint, I don't necessarily like this. But from a consumer standpoint, I don't think the price is exorbitant. And if they only have a few guns to sell, I do like that they're limiting just a couple per customer, and that they're trying to give returning K-Var customers a shot over just dumping them and letting the internet do its thing. So I have mixed feelings about this, but, that's the market for you. And I can't complain. I think if anyone's getting kind of the short end of the stick, it's the sales rep at MSR. And I will give credit, my rep over there, while he couldn't help me, he did set me up with a rep directly at K-Var, which is the retail vendor, and they took right care of me. So I did get one, and at the end of the day, that's kind of all I really cared about at this point. So we'll be playing with that. If there's any weirdnesses or oddities or cool things, we will let you know, but I don't really expect there to be. It's a pretty standard AR-M1 pattern gun. Not a lot of bells and whistles, and it doesn't have the left side selector. It's not 24mm thread, it's 14, but that's okay because it's pretty much identical to my old SAM5, a gun that I've been wanting to replace for a decade. So I've been telling Arsenal for a couple of years that they imported a milled 5.56. I'd be in line to buy one, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. I try to do what I say, so what choice did I have but to buy it? See, guys, that's what you do with your wife. If you get a wife that doesn't like you buying guns, you just say, look, I gave it my word, I have to do it. Now, my wife doesn't care, but I definitely am interested to get it, and this one I plan on keeping. I sold one before, I'm not probably going to sell it again. And also, plan on shooting the shit out of it, because that's what guns are for, right? So, yeah, since we're not really ready to do a full video on the main Mishaco channel, thought just put one here up here, a black box video, and, just talk about it a little bit. Why not? I'll probably record another black box video this weekend about what's been going on with me, but wanted to address this. Curious, anyone else out there decide to go ahead and order one, or if not, do you want one, or maybe just holding off? If so, why? Or if it doesn't interest you, it'd be kind of interesting to talk about why it doesn't, because I would understand if you already have a SAM-7R. This is the same gun, just in a different caliber. Maybe you're not interested in 5.56 AKs, or maybe you just say, look, Arsenals are just overpriced. Something I would normally agree with, but look what other guns are going for. Wassers are over $1,000. Even the stamped SLR 107R is $1,200 to $1,300, so $1,500 for a milled gun. And as I said in many videos, the milled's where it's at with Arsenals. That seems like that's their flagship base. It really is where they seem to bring their A game. Not that their stamped guns are bad, but I think there's an argument to be made that a stamped Arsenal is pretty much like maybe a WBP Fox, or even a nicer high-end Wasser, or a Zastava ZPAP. But when it comes to milled, Arsenal has had that market nailed down for 20 years. And that was my original reason for buying my SAM-5. At that point, I decided I want a milled AK. So that's what I did. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to chat, and then I'll probably use kind of some feedback from you folks, and we'll be working on a main Mishaco channel video very soon. So with that, we'll let you go for this here black box. I appreciate you tuning in. As always, if you could like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to hear more about the Arsenal history, we've done a full multi-part series over on the main channel too, covering the early days with the SA-93 all the way through, current day with them. This is Misha. Catch you very soon next time.